For over 2 centuries, the specter of communism has loomed large over the global landscape, casting a shadow that has altered the course of nations and the lives of billions. As we reflect on the past 200 years, it becomes increasingly clear that the tenets of communism, with their promise of equality and shared prosperity, have often led to outcomes that are starkly different from their ideals. The narrative of communism is not merely a tale of economic theory. It is a chronicle of human suffering, oppression, and the stifling of individual potential. At its core, communism advocates for the abolition of private property and the establishment of a classless society. This vision, while noble in its intention, has repeatedly resulted in the concentration of power in the hands of a few. The state, which is supposed to represent the collective will of the people, often becomes an oppressive force that subjugates individual freedoms. History has shown us that when the state assumes control over the means of production, it does not lead to the equitable distribution of resources, but rather to a bureaucratic elite that thrives while the masses languish. Take the Soviet Union as a prime example. The Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 promised a new dawn of equality, yet it quickly devolved into a regime characterized by terror and repression. The Great Purge, the forced collectivization of agriculture, and the famines that ensued are stark reminders of how communism can lead to catastrophic consequences. Millions perished, not from the failures of capitalism, but from the brutal enforcement of a flawed ideology. The very fabric of society was torn apart as the state prioritized its power over the welfare of its citizens. In China, we witnessed a similar trajectory. The Cultural Revolution, initiated by Mao Zedong, sought to eradicate the four olds: old customs, culture, habits, and ideas. This campaign resulted in widespread chaos, the destruction of cultural heritage, and the persecution of intellectuals. The promise of a classless society was overshadowed by the reality of a regime that crushed dissent and stifled creativity. The economic reforms that followed, while lifting millions out of poverty, were a stark departure from communist principles, revealing the inherent contradictions within the ideology itself. As we look at the global stage today, the remnants of communism continue to wreak havoc. In countries like Venezuela, the promise of wealth redistribution has led to economic collapse and humanitarian crises. The government's attempts to control the economy through nationalization and price controls have resulted in shortages of basic goods, rampant inflation, and a population that suffers daily. The once vibrant nation is now a cautionary tale of how the allure of communism can lead to despair and deprivation. Moreover, the ideological battle between communism and capitalism has not only shaped individual nations, but has also influenced global relations. The Cold War, a direct consequence of this ideological divide, saw nations pitted against each other in a struggle for supremacy. The arms race, proxy wars, and the division of the world into spheres of influence created a climate of fear and mistrust that persists to this day. The legacy of this conflict is a world that is still grappling with the repercussions of ideological extremism. In the 21st century, we see the resurgence of leftist ideologies in various forms, often cloaked in the language of social justice and equity. While advocating for the rights of marginalized groups is essential, the underlying principles often echo the collectivist ideas of communism. The push for wealth redistribution, the vilification of successful individuals, and the call for increased state intervention in the economy can lead us down a slippery slope. The danger lies in the potential erosion of individual liberties and the stifling of innovation that has been the hallmark of capitalist societies. The narrative of communism is not just a historical account. It serves as a warning for the future. The allure of a utopian society, where everyone is equal and no one is left behind, is a seductive promise that can lead to devastating consequences. As we navigate the complexities of modern governance and economic systems, we must remain vigilant against the encroachment of ideologies that prioritize the collective over the individual. In a world that is increasingly interconnected, the lessons of the past are more relevant than ever. The rise of authoritarianism in various forms, whether through state control or the suppression of dissenting voices, is a reminder that the struggle for freedom is ongoing. The fight against communism is not merely a battle against a political ideology, It is a defense of the principles of liberty, individual rights, and the belief that every person has the potential to shape their own destiny. As we look to the future, we must champion the values that have led to prosperity and innovation. The free market, driven by competition and individual initiative, has lifted millions out of poverty and fostered creativity in ways that centralized planning never could. It is through the empowerment of individuals, not the suppression of their ambitions, that we can build a better world. In conclusion, the history of communism over the past 200 years serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of ideological extremism. The promise of equality has often been overshadowed by the reality of oppression and suffering. As we move forward, let us learn from the past and advocate for systems that prioritize individual freedom, personal responsibility, and the belief that every person has the right to pursue their own happiness. The lessons of history are clear. Communism, in its various forms, has the potential to destroy not just economies, but the very essence of what it means to be human.